good.
What's up? This is Ian from the Fairs of Chaos, and today I'm going to show you my take on Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. It's decently competitive. It's obviously not going to be topping anything, but it's definitely usable. So first off, I've got 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon. I don't like 3. They clog. But we're running 3 Dragon Rulers in this deck, and you can use these to banish, and you should never have to have more than 3. Drawing 3 of this card sucks a lot. And he's a good light, we can banish with him, and we only ever really need 1 for Maiden's effect, so 2 Blue Eyes. Next up, something a little bit less conventional. I've got 1 Darkstorm and 1 Koumori. You only need the 1 Darkstorm. Dragon Shrine is what we use to get these into our grave, or just discarding them. And his effect, if we want to use his effect, we have just the 1. We don't need the second one. Koumori, it's our normal target for Dragon Shrine, and it's dark, so we can banish. So we can do something like Dragon Shrine, dark, light with eclipse Wyvern, and banish. So, and he's not quite as dead in hand because he can be summoned. So, 1 of each of those. Next up, I've got the 3 Maiden. Maiden is fantastic. She's the reason why the Blue Eyes engine is even viable. I mean, you can play her aggressively, you can play her defensively, you can use her as a tuner, she's light. She's just, so good. You can target her, bring out a Blue Eye, Synchro into Azurai. You can bring out a Dragon Ruler, Synchro into an 8, target during your opponent's end phase, then during your main phase, get 2 Blue Eyes, go into rank 8 Z. Just so many options with her. You have to run her at 3 if you're running Blue Eyes. And then I've got the Chaos portion of this deck. There is a Chaos engine going, although I run no mill because I don't like the inconsistency with the amount of spells we run. So, the big bosses, we've got 1 BLS, 1 Dark Armed, 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal. The reason I'm running each of these is BLS, he's BLS. I mean, he's just ridiculous. And then Dark Armed, you've got a ton of graveyard manipulation in this deck. So if you have too much grave, you can banish stuff out. If you don't have enough, you can send stuff in. And worst case scenario, you can use those Dragon Rulers, you can use them as a dragon target and just banish them out of hand or grave. Same thing with Darkness Metal, and of course he has fantastic synergy with this guy. So those are 3 boss monsters. And then next we've got our I call them the mini bosses. We've got 3 Lightpulsar, only 1 Darflare, 2 Chaos Sorcerer, and then, yeah. So, the Lightpulsar are there for the speed. You can add them to your hand. There's so many different ways to get them out on the deck. They add consistency. You can use them with Maiden to go into level 7s, and then obviously by now you should know the combo of Darkness Metal and Lightpulsar, where you discard a light and metal to the grave, and then to special Lightpulsar. And once you have Lightpulsar on the field and metal is in the grave, if Lightpulsar dies, you bring out metal, and then re-special the Lightpulsar. So those are the 3 of those. I only run the 1 Darflare because it's kind of situational, and Chaos Sorcerer is really good, and I'm still kind of messing around with this. Running 2 Darflare and 1 Chaos Sorcerer is a viable option that I can understand, especially with the rulers, with the extra dragon target. But at the moment, I like Chaos Sorcerer just as an out to tons of different cards. To banish them, you don't have to destroy them, don't send them to the grave. And then 1 Eclipse Wyvern. We actually run a decent amount of targets, but the only ones you're ever going to want to search are Dark Armed and Darkness Metal. So only 1 of him. It's pretty standard. And then next up, you got the Tour Guide engine with 1 Knight Assailant. So 3 Tour Guide, 1 Knight Assailant. That's just so you can use it twice. It adds a ton of consistency to the deck. You can use the rank 3s, defense or offense, and the Knight Assailant, I love it. It's the best one in this deck because we don't run Rykos, so this is our out. This is one of a couple outs to Ophion, which murders this deck. and so if you draw it, it's not completely dead. Although we do want to be able to go into it with tour guide, we can do stuff with it still. Next up, we've got, as promised, Tidal, Tempest, and this is a blaster. I just don't have blaster right now. I'm going to get them fairly soon. I run these because after I dropped the mill engine for consistency issues, I noticed the deck lacked explosiveness. So what I did was I put these three guys in, and what they do is they just bring that back in without dropping any of that consistency. I mean, there's a ton of stuff you can do with Maiden, with Darkness, and you can just put them in your grave and just sit on them. You can just keep them in there, and then when the time's right, you can use them to keep yourself from being OTK'd if you're having, well, not OTK'd, but if your field's open and you know you're going to lose next turn, you can just summon one of these guys, wait. You can banish to summon two of them, overlay. You can, if you have Dark Armed out, and you don't have any darks to banish, you can summon one of these guys, overlay. Ton of options. They add some consistency and a lot of explosiveness. There's nothing like being able to go with Darkness Metal and these guys and just summon out a bunch of them, hit your opponent for bunches of damage, then overlay so you don't lose effects. They're great. Next up, we've got the two level 4 techs. We've got the one Snipe Hunter out to Ophion. He's dark and he's an Ophion out. This deck doesn't mind discarding because you get fairly cloggy hands sometimes, and they'll clog with stuff like Darkness, Blue Eyes, obviously, the Lightpulsars that you really rather have in your grave, or the Dragon Rulers. So you can discard the stuff that you don't want, pop the stuff they want. He dies, goes to the grave. He's a dark. You can banish him. Honest? It's honest. Next up, you got 1, 2, 3 Dragon Shrine and a single Foolish Burial. The reason we're running these is they're the speed and engine of our deck. These are how we set up our graveyards. You draw a Dragon Shrine, you put 2 in, you can instantly go into a Chaos Summoning, you can make a Dragon Ruler, you can use it to set up for Dark Armed, Dark Armed. Use it to set up for Dark Armed for the 3 darks. You can put Lightpulsar in your grave, and then Foolish is there just as kind of a 4th Dragon Shrine. Just for that extra graveyard manipulation. And then 1 Lightning Vortex. I run this over Dark Hole because I don't have to worry about taking up my hard fought field to get rid of a monster I need to get rid of. I can just discard something I don't want and wipe their field. So 1 Lightning Vortex, 1 Burial. This is great for OTKs. You can use it you can banish stuff out of the grave, re-add it, banish some more, summon again. If you need to banish something and there's stuff in the grave that you don't want to banish, like Darkness Metal, you can banish, use this, bring them back so you don't have to worry about not having access to them later. The only reason we don't run more is because it's limited. 1 MST, I side more. And right now I just haven't run into a lot of scenarios where I wish I had more than 1 MST. I can kind of save it as to be used on problem cards instead of just random back row popping. So, and then if you run against something like Fire Fist or Bujins or something like that, you can always side in the other 2. So 1 MST, 1 Lance just for the protection and to make our big monsters even huger. 1 Silver's Cry because it's Monsters Reborn for Blue Eyes. You can use it to stop OTKs, you can use it to start going into Azurai plays or rank 8 plays, so that's a great card. And then 2 Castle. Now, we use this for a couple reasons. The first one off is it targets Maiden. Fantastic. Targets Maiden, gets our Blue Eyes out, synchro, do whatever we need to do. The other thing is actually when this guy's flipped face up and he's hit, we get to special a dragon from our grave. So we can, if they MST this face down, we can flip it, activate it in response, banish like Darkness Metal from our grave. It dies, we re-special that monster, and we just got a free monster. We run 2 because 3 is kind of inconsistent and cloggy because you do need to banish from your grave, and I don't want to use up all of the grave. I want to keep monsters in there for situations where I might need them. 1 Dark Bribe because I prefer it over 7 tools, plain and simple, and I want to have at least a little bit of negation for spells and traps. 1 Fiendish Chain, it actually targets Maiden, and her effect still goes off, so that's great about it. And also, it's Fiendish Chain. You can use it to stop your opponent from going searching, from doing all the stuff they don't want, you don't want them to do. So, just a versatile card. Bottomless and Mirror Force. OTK Stopper, Bottomless. And then next up, we got the extra deck. The extra deck isn't 100%, but it's pretty good. So the first 2 cards up we got are Leviathan and Zenmaze. Leviathan is just an early beater you can pull, and I know you run a lot of beaters, but you still want to be able to run him so that you can easily go in, just get a 25 beater, run over those problem monsters. Zenmaze is maybe the most versatile rank 3 there is. And then this guy here, this is a Leviair. I don't actually run any rank 4s in this deck. I just have him here right now because I have the extra space. And as soon as I get a Leviair, I'll drop him, because then we can do stuff like we can use Leviair's effect to bring back our Maiden. Then if we haven't summoned that turn, we can summon a 4, or we can special into a 5 or a 6 and synchro. It's great for that. 1 Gauntlet Launcher, because we can really spam out 6s if we want to at times, and this guy's great because he can use his effect more than once per turn, just attack, pop, pop, or vice versa. Number 74, Master of Blades. So we run the Dragon Rulers, so we need rank 7s. And this guy's the best rank 7 that isn't Big Eye and Draco Sack. Both of those cards are better than this card, and the only reason I don't run them is because I just don't have the money for that. And this guy's a great alternative. He's only like $8 at the moment. I pulled him out of a pack. And he negates an effect that targets him, and then by detaching, and then pops 1 card on the field. So he's hard to get off. He's not as hard as obviously as Draco Sack, but he's still a great card to go into. Keeps your Dragon Rulers from just going back to your hand after you spend all that effort getting them out. So good card, really good card. 1 Heretic Sun Dragon, because if we want to, we can get 2 rank 8s out and see into this guy, and he can just be used to get stuff we don't want out of our hands, just clogging up our hands, and then get rid of problem cards. So, great card, and he's got 3,000 attack. So, I mean, sometimes you need to be able to do stuff with an XZ that you can't do with other monsters, like a normal monster, because they don't have a level, and this guy can just be a beater if you need him to be also. And then for 5, I got 1 Cataster, because you can make him using either Honest or Snipe Hunter and Maiden, because usually Maiden can stay out on the field for a turn or 2. If you have a Maiden, you can summon her. Next turn, summon a Snipe Hunter synchro into this guy, and he's hard to get out. You can just run over a lot of monsters, especially if you're playing against those Boojins. So that's a great card. Gaia Knight, the Force of the Earth. If you want to run Sahemoth, I completely understand, but I like this guy just because he's got 26 attack. He can get over some monsters that we don't want out, and yeah, we can get, like, for example, we can run over Xian, and yeah, it's a great card. But if you want to run the DD Warrior Lady known as Sahemoth, I can understand that too. Ancient Sacred Wyvern. Don't sleep on this card. This card's fantastic. It might be dead in some situations, but there's times where it is its own OTK. If you can summon this guy and get another big beater on the field, and if you can successfully attack with like a Blue Eyes and this card, it's just game. And you can just, if you can attack directly with him or run over monsters with him, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's just silly. Colossal Fighter, it's Colossal Fighter. It can special itself from the grave. You can make rank level 8s fairly easily, so Colossal Fighter. One Dark End because it sends, and we do run enough Darks. So just send like Draco Sacs, Mains, anything like that to the grave, and it's not a big cost. I mean, you just slap his attack down. He's still at 21, so he's not. It's not like he had a huge attack loss. He's still usable, and you got rid of that problem card without really paying any cost. Crimson Blader, because mermails, and he can be used to just slow down decks when you want them to slow down, or even you can use them against this deck. He's just a versatile card, and he's a decent beater. Stardust, he's Stardust. I mean, yeah. And then 2, Azure. You can run 1. I like to run 2, just because I want the extra versatility that this card offers. This card has so many mean combos to it. I mean, it's Maiden with a target is just instantly this card. You can just special from your grave, and I mean, you can do stuff like Burial and Darkness here. You can do stuff like if Azure's effect, if he's been out for a turn, so his effect's not out anymore, so you can be targeted. You don't want that to happen. You can do stuff like you can banish him, special Darkness, use Burial, take back 2 monsters plus Azure, and then use his effect, re-special it. Now you're protected again. You can go ahead and attack without worry. This card's great, and then when you're in a pinch and you need to make sure that you can survive for a turn or 2, you can just put this guy in defense mode. It's a 3000 beater. They have to run over or just let you go on your next turn and hopefully get that top deck you need to get moving. So that was my profile. It's really not a bad deck at all, and I really enjoy it. It's fun being able to actually use a Blue Eyes deck that's competitive. So hope you guys liked it, and this is the Pharaohs of Chaos signing out.